In this lesson, we will continue to build our project and design table schema along with a model that will hold all questions in our application. And because a question is created by a user, we'll also link or make relationship between the user and question model. Alright, let's go to our terminal and generate a new model. Actually, before we do that, let's create a new branch in our local repo so that we can work in isolation. If I type git branch, right now we are on master branch. So let's create new branch by typing git check out -b, and the branch name could be anything, but since we are in second lesson, so I'm going to say lesson 2. So now it says switch to a new branch, lesson 2. Alright, let's generate a new model by typing php artisan make model, and the model name will be question. Remember that by convention, the model name in singular and written in capital or in camel case, and Eloquent will assume that this question model store records in the questions table in plural and written in snake case. We could hit return to actually generate the model, and after that we can create a new migration and define questions table. But actually, we can also do that in single command by specifying the --migration, or we can just specify -m, like so. By doing this, we tell Artisan to generate question model along with migration file that we can use to define the questions table. Hit return. Alright, so if we look inside database migrations, we now have create question table. Open the file, and let's go ahead and fill this out. So every question is going to have title. So let's have a title column in string title. Let's also have slug of this question, and slug is basically title that constructed to make pretty URL. So we can call this slug, and this needs to be unique for each records in this table. And then we need to have actual content, so that's going to be body. And it should be in text. And then we need to record how many times the question is viewed. So we can say table, and that's going to be unsigned integer, because the value will never less than 0. And let's make it 0 by default, because when the first time the question is created, it has not seen by anyone, right? And then we need to record how many answers the question has, and we simply duplicate this line and change to answers. We also need to have votes that record how many people are voting a question. So table integer, because I saw in Stack Overflow that floats can be negative. That's why it's integer, not unsigned integer. And let's also make it 0 by default. Then we need to record the accepted or best answer ID, so we can say table, and that's going to be unsigned integer, and it also should be nullable, because a question could be has no answer, or it could be has answers, but none of them is accepted by the creator of the question. And last, we need to keep track of the user that created the question. So we can say table, and that's going to be unsigned integer, and we'll call it user underscore ID. The reason why I defined user ID in unsigned integer, other than what I mentioned earlier, is because I will make the user ID column as foreign key, which constrain us to define both columns in both tables are identical. So increment ID will create ID column in unsigned integer, primary key, and auto increment. So here we can say table foreign user ID. It will reference ID on users table. Okay, and whenever the user deleted, all questions related to the user will be cascaded, or they will also be removed. So here on delete cascade, like so. Okay, save that, and let's go back to our terminal and run the latest migration file by typing php artisan migrate. Alright, so now that we have question model as well as a questions table to hold all questions in our application,